Good morning, Dr. Clark. This is Ann. Would you like to test your sound?
Certainly. Hello, Ann. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can we test it?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
I guess that's a good thing to be tested positive for.
Yes, sir.
Ann, can I make sure you can hear me?
Yes, Dr. Walton, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
What can I do for you?
My daddy, Ronald Beasley, all right, in case you didn't know, he passed away. And he,
Good morning, everyone. It's great to have everyone here with us today. And again, we'll hold our meeting virtually as we're all dispersed throughout the state. I want to call to order today's meeting of the Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana. Before we begin, Carol, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Donahoe, they're starting.
I don't see Carol.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was having problems getting back in. Olivia Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Carter,
Here.
Dr. Clark,
Here.
Dr. Condos,
Here.
Mr. Crawford, Ms. Donahoe, Dr. Egan,
She's here.
Here.
Mr. Kitchen,
Here.
Ms. Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins, Ms. Pierre, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Here.
Ms. Russell,
Here.
Mr. Salter, Mr. Salter?
Here.
Okay, I've got 9. I have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. In order to proceed with today's meeting, I need a motion and a second to accept the certificate of inability to operate in accordance with the directives from the governor, the CDC, and the local and state governing health authorities and officials. I have a motion by Mr. Carter. Yes. Second by Ms. Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, we better roll call, Carol.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford, Ms. Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Ms. Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
This
Ms.
is.
Pierre, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Ms.
I'm doing the roll
Ms.
call.
Pierre,
But I don't want to be.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you, Carol. I would like to advise you as well that today's content for today's meeting, including chat, is being recorded and subject to public records requests. So please keep that in mind as we conduct business today. To members of the public who are viewing this via YouTube, be reminded that anyone who wishes to make a public comment on a particular agenda item can do so by emailing publiccomment@ulsystem.edu. And along with your comment, please indicate your full name, affiliation, as well as the agenda item upon which you are commenting. Mr. Salter, if you could please lead us in our invocation today.
Yes, sir. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity we have to come again today to serve as a board. Lord, we pray that you would guide and direct us so that the decisions that we make are in the best interest of the citizens of our state and, more importantly, the students that we serve. Lord, I pray for the staff and others who have an integral part, Lord, of the operation and our system presidents and those at the campus level. Lord, I'd also lift up the need that we have, Lord, that as a world, we're still beset by the pandemic. And Lord, I would ask that you would guide and direct us in that. And I'd ask, Lord, that you'd give us health. I'd ask that you would give us the will, Lord, to do what we need to do as individuals to help abate the pandemic. Lord, I thank you for your many blessings and ask that you would forgive us for the ways that we sinned against you, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Salter. Today, we'll certainly be considering approval of the minutes of the October 22nd board meeting, as well as consider a motion that would dispense with the committee deliberations and meet as a committee of the whole. I would like to do that on consent on both items. If we could have a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Clark. Second by Ms. Bailey. Carol, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford, Ms. Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Ms. Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins, Ms. Pierre, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you again, Carol. So as we proceed, every member can vote on all items. And basically, as has been our practice, the chairs of the committees will conduct the business of each particular committee. Are there any questions as we proceed with our committee meetings? Hearing none, we'll start with academic and student affairs. Ms. Dunham, would you please address the items for that committee?
Thank you, Mark. We have 8 items on the Academic and Student Affairs Committee agenda today. All are consent items that require approval. Each member previously received executive summaries and associated information on these items. Dr. Janine Kahn, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, will provide the report. Dr. Kahn?
Thank you, Ms. Donahoe, and good morning to you, Chair Romero, President Henderson, and members of the board. There are 8 items for your consideration, and I'll walk you through each briefly. The first 3 agenda items, F1 through F3, pertain to Grambling State University. F1 is a request to discard library books that have not been in circulation since 2017. The request for disposal of approximately 189,000 books is based on the impending demolition of the A.C. Lewis Library. And due to the poor environmental climate of the building, the books that will be discarded are unfit for use at this time. F2 is a request to offer a post-baccalaureate certificate in advanced supervision. The proposed PBC has been designed to help support the Department of Children and Family Services with workforce retention. The curriculum, which is composed of 18 credit hours, will enhance the skills of supervisors in the child welfare and other human services fields so that they can be extremely competent and supportive leaders. The proposed PBC was designed in partnership between Gremling's School of Social Work and DCFS. Agenda item F3 is a request to offer a PhD in Criminology and Justice Administration. At this time, I would like to introduce and welcome Dr. Connie Walton, Grambling's Vice President of Academic Affairs and Provost, who will provide you with an overview of the proposed program and explain why Grambling is the rightful university to offer such a doctoral program. Dr. Walton?
Thank you, Dr. Khan.
You're welcome.
I want to thank you all for providing us with the opportunity to give a brief presentation that highlights specific content of the proposal that was submitted that seeks approval to offer a PhD in Criminology and Justice Administration. I want to just give you a little background information that shows how we got to this point. We had a group of interdisciplinary faculty at Grambling State University that began work to develop this proposal during the summer of 2020. The university retained the services of a consultant who reviewed early drafts of the proposal, provided feedback, and the faculty used this feedback to enhance the design of this proposed program. The faculty also sought feedback from other individuals, including the consultant that the Board of Regents retained to assist UNO in developing a somewhat similar program. Next slide. So the presentation this morning will focus primarily on two areas: addressing the alignment of the program to our mission and our designation, and then looking at a brief overview of the proposed program. Next slide. The proposed PhD program in Criminology and Justice Administration is clearly aligned with the founding mission of the university. A dissection of our mission statement shows this alignment. Next slide. So one aspect of our mission statement indicates that the university seeks to reflect in all of our programs the diversity that's present in the world. The PhD in Criminology and Justice Administration will prepare transformative leaders who will be equipped to develop equitable policies and procedures that will support communities. Next slide. The university's mission also indicates that we have a desire to foster in our students a commitment to service and to improvement in the quality of lives for all persons. This proposed program will equip students with the skills and knowledge needed to be the catalyst for change in our communities, workplaces, our justice system, so that all individuals will be valued and treated as somebody. Next slide. During the 2018 regular session, Senate Bill number 199 was introduced. Upon its approval and passing of this bill, an advisory council on historically Black colleges and universities was established. This council falls under the jurisdiction of the Board of Regents, and it has responsibility of advising the Commissioner of Higher Education on matters supporting the enhancement of the capabilities of HBCUs in the state of Louisiana. Next slide. So several outcomes have been identified for this council, and these outcomes include improve the identity, visibility, and distinctive capabilities and overall competitiveness of HBCUs, increase HBCUs' contributions to the educational workforce goals, and to promote centers of academic research and programmatic excellence. Next slide. June 17, 2020 Board of Regents meeting, a historically Black colleges and universities designation was approved. A recap of the meeting indicates that this designation was approved to recognize the long-standing and unique role that HBCUs play in educating underrepresented and underserved students in the state. So Grambling State University now carries two designations. We are a regional university, and we also carry the designation that was created in June as being a historically Black college and university. Next slide, please. So we're seeking approval of the proposed PhD in Criminology and Justice Administration under the umbrella of being designated historically Black colleges and universities. Next slide. So we have identified outcomes that we expect to have as a result of the approval and implementation of the proposed degree program. These outcomes are aligned with the outcomes that I discussed earlier that have been identified for the Advisory Council on Historically Black Colleges and Universities. So we expect to increase the overall competitiveness of the university, increase the university's contribution to the state's workforce goals, and promote programmatic excellence. Next slide. Now I want to just take a few minutes to give you an overview of the program itself. Next slide. So the proposed PhD in Criminology and Justice Administration will focus on the scientific study of crime and criminal behavior. It will examine the structure of the criminal justice system, its procedures and processes, and how they can be adjusted so that they work to provide a fair system for all. Next slide. Those students who entered the program and they already have earned a master's degree in a related discipline will be required to complete 54 credit hours. Those 54 credit hours will consist of 21 hours of core courses, 9 hours of research methods type courses, 12 hours of dissertation courses, and 12 hours of electives. Those 12 hours of electives can be used by the student to specialize in one of two concentrations. The first concentration is minority and social injustices, and the other is justice policy administration. I'll give you just a brief overview of these two concentrations. Next slide, please. So the minority and social injustices concentration is designed for individuals to become leaders who will address the changes and consequences of minority disparities in communities and workplaces by providing practical responses to these problems. The Justice Policy Administration concentration will be designed for leaders in the criminal justice system who can develop policies, procedures, and disseminate information to overcome social exclusion in the system. Next slide. So the faculty identified a set of student learning outcomes that are appropriate to the degree program that require a high level of student learning. These outcomes will require the graduates from the program to be able to demonstrate that they can synthesize, evaluate, create, and apply. Next slide. The faculty who will be responsible for the program are interdisciplinary. They represent criminal justice faculty, sociology, psychology, and public administration. Next slide. I want to just spend a few minutes looking at some of the creative works and experience of the faculty, just as a demonstration that the faculty is prepared to implement and manage a highly competitive PhD program. You'll find that our faculty are members of editorial review boards. They are members of professional organizations. We have a faculty member who serves as an expert crime analyst for the Shreveport Times. We have a faculty member who served as a district attorney for a city in northern Louisiana. We have a faculty member who's a former chief of police. Next slide. Our faculty are also highly published. Examples of their publications include authors of textbooks, chapters in textbooks, as well as articles that are presented at professional meetings. Next slide. We have a psychology professor member who was invited to be a part of a PBS special that focused on lynching in America. This happened June 2019. Next slide. These faculty are experienced in directing thesis and dissertation research. These sociology and psychology faculty advise students that are pursuing the MA degree in social sciences at Grambling State University. We have a faculty member who has been a part of the GSU faculty for about 3 years, who serves on dissertation committee members at Howard University and Alliant International University. We were fortunate to add a new faculty member to the sociology department at the beginning of the fall semester, who has experience in directing theses for master's students pursuing a sociology degree at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and serving as dissertation chairs for those students pursuing a PhD. We have a criminal justice faculty member who currently serves on thesis committees at Mississippi Valley State University. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide.
Her screen has frozen. Just one moment, Dr. Walton.
Okay, all right.
Dr. Walton, you're welcome to continue without the slides if that's okay until she gets back up. And she'll catch up with you when she gets there.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was grabbing my slides. All right, so we just completed the creative work experience of the faculty and their experience in directing thesis and dissertation research. The next slide focused on the career choices that students will be trained to pursue in collaboration with their master's degree. And these career choices, I've listed some of them, including the Louisiana Workforce Commission star rating for these occupations. Next slide. Similar programs. There's a somewhat similar program at the University of New Orleans that is scheduled to be implemented the fall 2021 semester. In your proposal packet, you will see a letter of support from UNO supporting our degree program. Next slide. So we're requesting approval to offer a PhD in criminology and justice administration. So again, thank you for giving us the opportunity to give this presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Walton. At this time, do any board members have questions for Dr. Walton or other Grambling faculty that are on the Zoom meeting this morning? Yes, Dr. Clark.
Dr. Walton, thank you so much for the thorough presentation. And I'm not sure whether these questions are for you or maybe Janine, if they're more appropriate for you. I'm very supportive of the concept. You just answered in part one of my questions, and that was the similarity with the UNO program, and the fact that they are supportive is certainly encouraging. Is there an opportunity to link those in any way, or to share, or to faculty circumstances? You know, as I think some of our other institutions have done in education and some other fields, I don't know if that's even appropriate at this time to even elevate that concept.
So I would imagine that there are some opportunities for collaboration. The extent of the collaborations would depend upon the two faculties, Grambling State University and UNO's faculty, but we're always open to collaborations.
And in addition, Dr. Clark, in the packet, there is a letter of support, as Dr. Walton mentioned, from Kim Martin-Long, who is the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts at UNO. And in her letter of support, toward the end of the letter, that was the last statement she made. We are looking forward to any collaboration. And I think since this is such an important area for our nation, that there is opportunity, tremendous opportunity for the two institutions to work together and their faculty to work together on improving what happens in our country.
Fantastic. I had just a couple of questions more on the approval concept, or the role, scope, and mission, the change. Are there currently PhD programs offered at Grambling?
We have an EDD program, a Doctor of Education.
Okay. Does this in any way require change of role, scope, and mission through the Board of Regents, or is that assumed to have occurred with the HBCU designation?
So our stance is that it was approved with the new designation that we were awarded.
Janine, is that?
Yes, Dr. Clark, that is accurate. The question always comes up, and I'll speak rather bluntly about it, about regional institutions, and is there a mission creep when there is a possibility of offering a PhD program? In this instance, Grambling is a wonderful opportunity, and it's a great fit to offer this program in particular. There is no policy that prohibits a regional campus from offering a PhD program. And I believe, as Dr. Walton mentioned, with this new designation that was identified in June of 2020, that this elevates their regional status. And so there would be no indication of any issues. A little backstory, Grambling, Dr. Walton and a few other folks from Grambling did meet with Regent staff to discuss all of this before we even move forward. I would like to applaud Dr. Walton's leadership in working with her faculty to go above and beyond what is necessary at the proposal stage. They have done their due diligence and then some, engaging two very prominent faculty from outside of Louisiana to engage in the creation of the program concept to ensure that the appropriate faculty were there, that the curriculum was designed to meet the needs that Grambling wanted to address, and so on. And so we have done everything that we possibly can to move this program forward, and it certainly does align with the role, scope, and mission of the institution.
And may I also add, we petitioned the Board of Regents prior to getting this proposal requesting that this proposal be on the agenda for ULS, that we would be allowed to bypass the letter of intent and go directly to the proposal, and they approved it.
And the reason for that, yes, and the reason for that, Dr. Clark, is, a letter of intent is a very thin document. Mm-hmm. It goes over just basically it's a hunting license to allow a university to move forward. The breadth and depth of this program, the question that you raised, Dr. Clark, about is this within the role, scope, and mission of the institution, needed to be addressed head on. And so the university thought the best way to do this was providing the actual proposal that has all the information that one would need to evaluate the need and the fit with the institution.
Excellent. Well, I commend you again, Dr. Walton, for being proactive. I know that there are circumstances and occasions where there are roadblocks that are set up at the Board of Regents level in terms of role, scope, and mission issues. And as long as you're already engaged in getting approvals, I just wanted to be sure that there was nothing that was going to prohibit this in some way, or if so, that we could be proactive, and you're already doing that. So kudos. Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Clark, if I could, I would also like to say, really, other than while we tend to use the term mission creep, this is really mission affirmation. And right. When you think about Grambling's historical work and contemporaneous work, I dare say there's not a more appropriate institution within the state of Louisiana, but probably in the country, than Grambling State to lead this work. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Walton and for her work, and certainly President Gallo for his vision in bringing this forward. This is going to be an extraordinary advance, not just for an institution, but for a state and a system. So.
Couldn't agree more, Dr. Henderson. Any other questions from the board at this time before we move forward? Thank you very much, Dr. Walton, for such a wonderful presentation, and we look forward to championing this program forward with the next approval process through the Board of Regents. Moving along with the agenda, we are now at agenda item F4, which is a request from McNeese State University to offer a Master of Science in Nutritional Sciences. Currently, an individual has to earn a bachelor's degree and complete a dietetics internship in order to sit for the national exam to become a registered dietitian nutritionist. Effective 2024, the entry-level eligibility education requirement will change to a minimum of a graduate degree. McNeese currently offers the dietetic internship via their Master of Science in Health and Human Performance with a concentration in nutrition and wellness. To address the change in degree requirement and to better align with the new accreditation standards, the university would like to convert the existing concentration into a Master of Science in Nutritional Sciences. F5 is a request from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette to award an honorary doctorate of arts to Mr. James A. Garland at the spring 2021 commencement exercises. The university would like to recognize Mr. Garland, a 1982 USL graduate, for his distinguished design career, as well as for his continuous support of the university. F6 is a request from the University of Louisiana Monroe to offer an undergraduate certificate in selling and sales management. The proposed UC, which it will be composed of 18 credit hours, will produce completers with the qualifications necessary for sales and sales management jobs that require education beyond the high school diploma. The university anticipates that the proposed UC will be of great interest to students in non-business related programs, since it will improve marketability and job readiness. For example, ULM health sciences students might wish to seek careers in pharmaceuticals or medical device sales. Knowledge gained from the courses required of the proposed UC, such as marketing, consumer science, personal and professional selling, and sales management, will certainly help prepare them for such positions. And the last two items, F7 and F8, are proposed agreements between sister institutions. Grambling State University and the University of Louisiana Monroe would like to enter into partnership in order to provide GSU students access to a number of risk management and insurance courses currently offered by ULM. And Louisiana Tech and Grambling State University would like to establish a joint endeavor that will allow for eligible GSU accounting majors in their senior year accelerated entry into Louisiana Tech's Master of Accountancy program. This concurrent enrollment opportunity will provide a very clear pathway toward graduate studies to eligible GSU undergraduate students. I would like to applaud these universities for collaborating with each other in a way to expand educational opportunities to their students. This is exactly what Systemness is all about, and such efforts are certainly commendable. And thank you for the work that you all do to move these initiatives forward. Ms. Donahoe, this concludes comments regarding all agenda items, and I'm happy to answer any question board members might have about the items.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. If no one requires further clarification, I would like to recommend approval of items F1 through F8. Do I have a motion and a second in that regard?
So moved.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
and who's second?
Olivia, second.
Yeah.
Olivia. Thank you, Olivia. Carol, would you take a roll call, please?
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford, Miss Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Miss Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Miss Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Miss Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter. The item is approved.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Is there any further business to come before this committee at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Khan. I think our next item is athletics. Thank you, Dr. Khan, for your input.
Thank you, Ms. Donahoe, and leading our athletic committee this morning will be Ms. Russell. Ms. Russell.
Good morning, everyone. We have 4 items on the athletic committee today. Mr. Bruce Janae will provide an overview of the consent agenda items by campus. Mr. Janae?
Thank you so much, Ms. Russell, and we appreciate you chairing the committee. Item H1 is from, item G1 is from Louisiana Tech. Approval of a contract with Dr. Eric Wood, Vice President and Director of Athletics, effective November 1st of 2020. Item G2 is from McNeese. Approval of contract with Clark Bertrand, Executive Director of the McNeese Athletic Foundation, effective November 16th of 2020. In September 2020, McNeese and Learfield Communications mutually agreed to terminate their contractual relationship, and as a result, McNeese can now pursue corporate sponsorships on its own and therefore maximize its revenue producing potential. To provide for the management of the athletic department's corporate sponsorships, McNeese has created a position of executive director of the McNeese Athletic Foundation, who is a university employee funded totally by the McNeese Foundation. Item G3 from Southeastern, approval of contract with Jeremy White, head women's volleyball coach, effective January 1st, 2021. And finally, item G4, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, requesting of approval of amended contracts in football for Robbie Dishler, who's special teams coordinator, Rory Seagrass, defensive line coach, and Austin Armstrong, inside linebackers coach. The coaches have agreed to forego their monthly cell phone allowances for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th of 21. And Ms. Russell, that is all the consent items I have. And at this time, Dr. Geis would like to formally introduce Dr. Eric Wood, who's the Vice President, Director of Athletics for Louisiana Tech. Dr. Geis.
Thank you, Bruce, and members of the board. Thank you for considering this request. When I was faced in September with a vacancy in my athletics director position, and you know how busy things are that time of the year, plus with coronavirus and having to deal with all of the schedule changes and issues related to athletics and coronavirus, I knew it was urgent that we fill that position right away. But I knew it was even more important that we find the right person for Louisiana Tech, and one that would not only serve our athletics program, but to serve the entire university as we seek more and more to integrate our athletics and campus community together. So we did an extensive search, had interviews with great candidates, and I'm thrilled that we got the best candidate possible in the country, and the great one for us at Louisiana Tech. He comes with a Bachelor's of Art from Sacred Heart University, a Master's of Education from Clemson University, and a Doctor of Education from the University of Arkansas. He's had experience at Clemson University, New Haven, Wake Forest. He's worked with the Atlantic Coast Conference, and he served in the Department of Athletics at the University of Arkansas, and we were able to grab him away from University of Central Florida, which is one of the top G5 schools in the country. Everyone we spoke to had high words of praise about Dr. Eric Wood. He was selected by Adidas in 2019 to be part of their Next Up class, which represents those senior athletics administrators that are positioned themselves to be athletics directors. And he was the only one in that group of 9 representatives that came from a non-Power 5 school. And I will mention that having graduated from Sacred Heart University and maintained connection with them, they invited him to serve on their board of trustees, and he now does that. That signifies the respect that institution has for him. I knew when we made the offer to him, it was going to be very important that he have an impact all across the campus. And so I approached Dr. Henderson, and I think he reached out to some of you to get me approval to not only name Eric Wood as Director of Athletics, but Vice President and Director of Athletics. And with that, I present him to you. He is a great addition to Louisiana Tech, Dr. Eric Wood. Eric, you want to make some remarks?
Dr. Geis, thank you for that introduction, and I look forward to meeting many of you. I'm sincerely honored to be the Vice President and Director of Athletics. Look forward to collaborating with my colleagues on campus, but also within the state. So I will be reaching out to the other directors of athletics and to make sure that there's the collaborative spirit that I've heard about already on this Zoom call. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm a month in, and I've been on campus for a couple of weeks, and really just looking forward to get started. I'm in a hotel room because I'm on the road with our football team right now. So forgive the informality of the background, but I just wanted to say thank you, and look forward to being a colleague within the state.
Mr. Chair, may I speak, please?
Yes, sir, Ms. Perkins.
Thank you. Dr. Woods, first of all, welcome. Dr. Geis, great selection. I can tell you when it posted initially a few weeks back, I received several text messages and calls about the excitement of having Dr. Wood come into that position, and seeing the beautiful picture of him and his 3 beautiful daughters and his son sleep on his beautiful wife's shoulder. That picture resonated, and it looks good on Louisiana Tech. And I think it's going to be a great asset, not just to the Louisiana Tech family, but the University of Louisiana system. And like I said, I received several messages of just delight, of pride, of looking into the future in a stronger direction. So I just want to commend you guys personally, Dr. Geis, on the selection, and Dr. Wood, your reputation already speaks, and it seems like the La Tech family is ready to embrace you, and definitely the University of Louisiana system family is ready to embrace you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Mr. Carter?
Dr. Wood, I'd like to say the same. Congratulations on the appointment, and everybody's excited. You have a stellar background, and we look forward to your leadership evolving La Tech as well as the entire system to higher heights. So congratulations, and so happy to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I'd also like to comment, Dr. Wood, welcome, congratulations. I certainly appreciate Dr. Geis's leadership and vision and bringing you on board in what is already a very formidable athletic program with a tremendous amount of upswing. And I'm confident that you're going to raise the bar to its highest level. And I know without any question that Tech's going to continue to bring pride and success to our system and to the state. And we look forward to seeing some really good things under your time and leadership.
I appreciate those words as well. Thank you very much. Looking forward to competing.
If there's no other comments, all of these agenda items have been reviewed by staff and are recommended for approval. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any other comments from the public? If no one requires further clarification of the consent agenda items, may I have a motion for approval of items G1 to G4?
So moved.
Ms. Donahoe, have a second?
Liz Pierre,
Pam
second.
Egan, yes.
Ms. Pierre, or Dr. Egan, thank you. Do we have any other business at this time, Mr. Janae?
Madam Chair, this is Jim. I just wanted to point out to the board members, when you look at Dr. Wood's contract, you'll notice a change that you will see in all athletic contracts that come through. We have always had a section in these contracts that require leadership to comply with all rules, regulations, laws, statutes. With Dr. Wood's insistence and collaboration, we actually have made very specific the Title IX requirements for reporting and for enforcement. And you'll see that in all the contracts that come forward. I want to thank Dr. Wood for not only agreeing to that, but being an advocate for that from the very beginning. Really appreciate that. And Dr. Geis for him and his staff and helping us craft that language in such an effective way. I also want to welcome Dr. Wood as the son of a Louisiana Tech Bulldog who played for Joe Aye in the 40s. Joe Aye, whose name sits on top of that stadium. I know my father would be very, very proud to see you here, Dr. Wood. And to Bruce Janae and to all the members watching, I believe that any football reference now to UL Lafayette has to say nationally ranked Louisiana Raging Cajuns. So I just want to clarify that on the agenda going forward for as long as they remain ranked. Madam Chair,
I appreciate that, Dr. Henderson.
Ms. Russell, if there are no more comments, we do need a vote by the board.
You have a motion and a second.
I think we had a first and a second.
Yes.
Right.
Can we get a roll call vote?
Okay, Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Ms. Mathvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
and Mr. Salter.
Yes.
It's approved.
This concludes the business of the Athletic Committee. The next committee is Facilities Planning.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. I'd like to call on Dr. Perkins to address items under the facilities plan.
Thank you, Chairman Romero. Let me make sure I got this very detailed report that Mr. Nay sent me. We have 5 items on the Facility and Planning Committee that are all consent agenda. Mr. Bruce Nay will provide an overview of the agenda items by campus.
Thank you so much, Dr. Perkins and members of the board and Dr. Henderson. Item H1 is from Nichols. Approval to amend its 5-year capital outlay plan that was submitted to the board in August of 2020 to replace the Lafourche Crossing Forum Bridge. This bridge has been deemed unsafe to travel on by the Environmental Health and Safety Office. With the expansion of coastal initiatives and in order to allow the biology department the ability to continue research in areas that are no longer accessible, it is critical that this bridge be replaced. The cost of this project is estimated to be approximately $400,000. Item H2 and H3 go together. Item H2 is from Southeastern. Approval to transfer the least owed interest in the Alumni Center from the Alumni Association to the university and to the board. And the valuation date of that building is approximately $1.8 million today. H3 from Southeastern are now requesting approval to enter into a ground lease with the Southeastern Louisiana University Foundation to renovate the Alumni Center as authorized by state law. The renovations and enhancements of the Alumni Center will cost approximately $1.2 million, which will be funded fully by the foundation. Upon completion of the project, the foundation will execute a donation back to the university. Item H4, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, requesting its approval to amend its 5-year capital outlay plan that was submitted in August of 2020 by adding a project to create the Kathleen Babineau Blanco Public Policy Center within the existing floor plan of either Garland Dupree Library. The original intent of this project was to fund it with university funds. However, due to COVID-19, these funds are no longer available. The staff for this center was hired in 2019 and are currently working within some temporary space within the university until this facility is completed. Project cost is estimated to be approximately $993,000. And finally, H5 is from the University of New Orleans. They're requesting approval to sell the Go Ring Hall to the Ogden Museum of Southern Art on terms and conditions that are both acceptable to the board and the university at a sale price which will be no less than the appraised value. The university acquired the property by donation from the University of New Orleans Foundation. The sale would be in accordance with the UL system of movable property guidelines, sale to specific buyer. UNO maintains sufficient other art facilities that support the teaching mission, including the St. Claude Gallery and the UNO Fine Arts Gallery. Thus, the university no longer has a need for an additional museum to meet its teaching mission. Proceeds from the sale would be used to fund some much needed major repairs and deferred maintenance, and the university has started the appraisal process this week. And those are all the items that I have, Dr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Janae. All of these items have been reviewed by the board and the legal staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if there's any member that have any question or wishes to discuss any of these items, please let me know. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Any comments from the public, Ms. Carroll?
No.
If no one requires any further clarification of the agenda items, I have a motion and second for approval of items H1 to H5.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Donahoe and a second by Ms. Russell. All in favor, say aye. I'm sorry, roll call, Ms. Carroll.
Miss Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Dr. Clark?
Yes.
Dr. Condos?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe?
Yes.
Dr. Egan? Mr. Kitchen? Ms. Methvin? Dr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen? Ms. Methvin? Mr.
Yes.
Murphy? Okay, thank you. Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Ms. Pierre?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
And Mr. Salter?
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. You know you got to give us a little bit of time delay to get off mute. We're not that quick, but you can just bear with us a little bit on trying to get off mute. Do we have any other business at this time? If not, that concludes the business of the Facilities and Planning Committee. Next will be the Committee in Finance. Mr. Kitchen.
Thank you, Dr. Perkins. Mr. Kitchen.
Thank you, Mark. Any member has wishes to discuss any of these items, let me know. Charles Wendt will walk us through an overview of items 1 through 4.
Good morning,
Well,
everyone. Thank you, Mr. Kitchen and members of the board. Item I1 is Louisiana Tech University's request for the approval to seek matching funds from the Louisiana Board of Regents for 8 endowed superior graduate scholarships and 1 endowed professorship. The foundation received private donations totaling $480,000 to create 8 $100,000 superior graduate scholarships by coupling the $480,000 with the private donations of $480,000 with matching funds from the Louisiana Board of Regents. And the superior graduate scholarships, are the George Leroy Erskine Jr. Scholarship benefiting the College of Engineering and Science, the Justin and Jeanette Hinckley Scholarship in the College of Education, Justin and Jeanette Hinckley the Scholarship in Biological Science, the Dana Miller Packman Endowed Scholarship, the Rick and Lisa Shirley Endowed Scholarships 1, 2, and 3, and the Argent Endowed Superior Scholarship in the College of Business. These endowments will be used to benefit student recipients in the form of scholarships, fellowships, and/or experiential opportunities, including internships, externships, conference travel, and field work. In addition, Louisiana Tech University Foundation received a private donation totaling $80,000 to create the Rick and Lisa Shirley Endowed Professorship, Presidential Professorship 2, by coupling the private foundation with matching funds from Board of Regents to create a $100,000 endowed professorship. Item I2 is the University of Louisiana Monroe's request for approval to establish the Freddie and Reba Nolan Endowed Scholarship, Superior Graduate Student Scholarship in Health Sciences. And the university received private donations totaling $80,000 and are seeking to create one $100,000 Superior Graduate Scholarship with matching funds provided by the Board of Regents. Item I3 is UNO's request for approval to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with Stadius Biopharma. The university is requesting approval to enter into a cooperative endeavor with Stadius Biopharma which will allow Stadius Biopharma and the university's Advanced Materials Research Institute to team up on the development and testing of new biomaterials. Initial projects, for example, will include the development of 3D bioprinted devices for the growth of specific constructs for drug testing and drug delivery. And then item I4 is University of New Orleans request for final approval for the issuance of the Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana System revenue bonds not to exceed $8 million in one or more series to finance the acquisition of cloud-based enterprise resource planning software. The board preliminary adopted the approval of the bonds and the project at our October 22nd board meeting, and adoption by the board of a bond resolution providing for the details of the bonds is now requested. The annual debt service for the proposed bonds will be secured and payable from university's pledged revenues, from the facility use and maintenance fee, the building use fee, and the student health services fee. The bond and university, the board and the university have not and will not pledge its full faith and credit to or state appropriated funds to make any debt service payments on the bonds. And the notice of intention to issue the bonds was published on November 4th, 2020, as required by the preliminary resolution. Mr. Kitchen, those are the 4 consent items on the agenda today. If anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Any questions, comments from the board?
Quick comment, just wanted to thank you, Chairman Kitchen and Charles staff for allowing us to get some insights from UNO on the project. Found it very helpful in terms of understanding. President Nick Lau, thank you and your staff for assisting.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Any other comments? May I have a motion and second for the approval of the consent items?
So moved.
Second.
By Dr. Clark. So any discussion on the motion? Carol, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Dr. Clark?
Yes.
Dr. Condos?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe?
Yes.
Dr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen?
Yes.
Ms. Methvin? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Ms. Pierre?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Salter?
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you. In addition, we also had 3 discussion items on the agenda today for the Finance Committee. Bruce Janae will lead us through the discussion of item 5.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kitchen. Item I5, Universal Louisiana Systems, report on internal and external audit activity for the period of October 19th to November 29th, 2020. Each of you were sent a list of internal and external audit reports completed by various auditors since our last board meeting. Also included are internal audits that are currently in progress and a timetable for follow-up audits on recommendations that have been made in previous audit reports. I have all of the reports that were issued should any of you want to see the entire report. And at this time, I did not note any concerns that should be brought up. This is a report only and no action by the board is necessary.
Any questions or comments on item 5? Okay, moving on, Charles will discuss items 6 and 7.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchen. Item 6 is the University of Louisiana System's discussion of the fiscal year 2020-2021 first quarter financial reports and ongoing assurances. And Jesse, if we could share my screen so I could just pull up the report and just show a couple of things. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Good, thank you. As usual, these reports are generally pretty long, and so I'm not going to go through everything in here. I wanted to point out some items which I felt the board might be interested in, might want to hear or see, but also if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to ask. I'll start with on the revenue side, and the State General Fund direct revenues are down 26.8%. That's our normal state appropriation that we're drawing from the legislature. And we drew $45.4 million in the first quarter, keeping in mind that our appropriations were reduced for the fiscal 2021 budget, and we received a supplement in 2020 for the $47.9 million that we got through the House Bill 307 money. So that cash is in the universities available for them to use, but it's not going to show up in appropriations for the current year. However, when we net our actual appropriated revenues plus the House bill money, we're still about $6 million short on the revenue side. Our self-generated revenues increased 3.4% from the first quarter of fiscal 2020, and self-generated primarily from the tuition and fees. Those are up about $10 million. There is a difference, and it was a timing difference with UNO's revenues. Their revenues show a $7 million increase from 2020 to 2021 in the first quarter. But if we go back to 2019 to 2021 in the first quarter, that difference is $2 million. So while it stands out and looks like it's an anomaly, it really is a timing difference there. Total revenues, however, decreased for the first quarter, but they decreased by only 0.2% or $566,406. And if you think about our current circumstances, and with the shutdown and also with the hurricanes, that bodes well in terms of our continuation with our tuition and fees. Now, we had a number of universities also wanted to highlight some of the increases in revenues from the universities. And what I'll do is I'll move this report. First off, overall, you can see that our State Journal Fund is down that 19.8%. Our non-resident fees are down. That I would think would be expected given the, again, the pandemic, but also the hurricanes. And our tuition and fees show an increase of about 4%. And the overall net decrease of 0.2%. At the individual universities, and you can look more at these pages in the back, or again, as we go, if you have any questions, please feel free. But you can see that Grambling's state appropriations increased 142.2%. And that again is primarily timing differences on when appropriations were drawn this year in the first quarter versus last year in the first quarter. Their overall budget is about $10 million in appropriations, and they will not exceed that. Nichols had an increase in their registration fees of about $1 million. Tech was down 7%. They had a small drop in general registration fees, and then they had, of course, with appropriations, 30.5%. And at Nichols, you're going to see that across the board, all the other universities, the single largest contributors are going to be their appropriations, with large decreases there. McNeese is down 6.4% overall in their revenues, and between appropriations and non-resident fee reductions, that's going to make up the bulk of that difference. Their general registration fees held pretty well and increased by 0.6%. And again, for McNeese's situation, I think that's pretty remarkable. We have Nichols, again, as I said, Their appropriations were down, but they were also up in their registration and non-resident fees. Northwestern, their tuition and fees increased 4.2%. We have Southeastern appropriations down, but their general registration fees are up 3.5%. They still have a 0.7% decrease. And part of that's going to be coming from their other sources, and also $150,000 from their decreases in their non-resident fees. ULL had decreases in state appropriations, but also in their general registration fees, again, in all of these categories for a net 6.7%. ULM had an increase in their registration fees, but they're 1.8% down first quarter to first quarter. And then UNO, you'll see again that anomaly of a 24.5% increase in tuition from 2020 to 2021. But if you look at 2019, the 34.8 is more consistent when compared to the 2019 first quarter. So again, some timing differences there. Some other areas that I think are important, because we've talked about them quite a bit, and I'm trying to do this at a high level. So again, if you have questions, let me know. Our athletic revenues, athletics and auxiliaries. I'll start with auxiliaries. Auxiliaries revenues total $70 million for the first quarter, which is a $9.8 million decrease from the first quarter of 2020. And that shows up in contracted services for dining, for example, because the dining revenues are down significantly with students not able to stay or for our dormitories not to be fully occupied. And then the expenses for auxiliaries are down $12.1 million to $33.4 million. And again, part of that is going to come from that lack of occupancy and then lack of use in other buildings where they're able to reduce their expenses. As it relates to athletics, total projected revenues for the year are $101 million, and that's going to include their $51 million in revenues here, the total expected revenues, plus the $50 million in the transfers in. And their total expenses are expected to be $114,185, and right now we're projecting a loss of $12.3 million. And that loss, our current year operating deficits, you'll see Grambling, McNeese, Nichols, and UNO currently reporting no operating deficit. However, they actually are expecting deficits. These are their current best estimates based on having sufficient operating revenues, operating transfers to athletics to cover those deficits. And if you have questions again about any of the university's deficits, please just let us know. And then also I thought it was relevant to show the contracted services table. And on this, you see our revenues are 34.8 and expenses are 28.7. So we have a $6 million surplus. Now, so we have a surplus, but we still have decreases, and we had decreases in dining of approximately $9 million from the first quarter of the previous year. And that also included a decrease in expenses of $8 million. So those would be consistent, but we are still operating with a surplus for our contracted services. I went through that pretty quickly. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or any other issues with the quarterly financials?
Alice, thank you. I don't hear any comments or questions, but I would like to just recognize their staff to manage very effectively during these troubled financial times that we have, in particular due to the coronavirus. So I think that recognition for each of the presidents would be in order.
Yes, and I would agree with that as well. And then the last discussion item is the University of Louisiana Systems discussion of policy and procedures memorandum M24 Small Entrepreneurship Program, the Hudson Initiative. And I believe that you've been provided copies of the memorandum. And this pertains to the Louisiana Hudson Initiative Program, which was established in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 39-2001 and Revised Statute 51-931. This is a goal-oriented program that encourages state agencies to contract with certified small entrepreneurship, as well as encouraging contractors who receive contracts from the state to use good faith efforts to utilize certified small entrepreneurships in the performance of the contract. To the extent permissible by law, ULS and its member institutions will utilize all methods possible to actively seek suppliers, increase the number of small entrepreneurs' opportunities, while at the same time maintaining procedural integrity and providing fair and open access for all vendors. And the campuses and affiliated organizations shall strive to meet all goals set by the Division of Administration for participation in the program. And this is a discussion item only, and no action by the board is necessary. So again, if there are any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
Yes, sir.
All right, hearing no comments or questions, any other comments from the public? Any other business? If there's any other business to come before the committee? If not, Mr. Chair, these are all the items for the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchen, and thank you, Charles, for the presentation. At this time, Dr. Carter will chair the Personnel Committee. Dr. Carter.
Thank you. We have 6 items on the Personnel Committee agenda today that are being presented on the consent agenda. Marcus will provide us with an overview of each item.
Thank you, Mr. Carter, and good afternoon, Chairman Romero and Dr. Henderson and board members. First item is item J1, McNeese State University's request for approval to appoint Dr. Ann Warner as interim dean for the College of Nursing Health Professions effective January the 4th, 2021. Item J2, McNeese State University's request for approval to appoint Mr. Heath Schroyer as athletic director, head men's basketball coach effective January the 1st, 2021. Item J3, Northwestern State University's request for approval to appoint Dr. Joel Hicks as interim dean of the College of Nursing and Allied Health effective January the 4th, 2021. Item J4, Northwestern State University's request for approval to appoint Dr. Francine Lemoyne as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences effective January the 4th, 2021. Item J5, University of New Orleans request for approval to appoint Mr. Timothy Duncan as Vice President for Athletics and Recreation effective October the 1st, 2020. And item J6, University of New Orleans request for approval to appoint Ms. Mary Beth Marks as Vice President for Enrollment Management effective November the 15th, 2020. And that concludes the items to be considered today.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All of these agenda items have been reviewed by staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if any board member has any discussion or wishes to talk about these matters any further, please let me know. Any board members want to discuss any portion of that presentation? Are there any questions from the public and or the board? Is there any discussion? No. If no one requires further clarification of the agenda item, I have a motion and a second for approval of the items listed on the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Liz Pierre, second.
So we have a move and a second. Let's have a roll call.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Dr. Clark?
Yes.
Dr. Condos? Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe?
Yes.
Dr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen?
Yes.
Ms. Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
It's approved.
All right, the motion passes. Any of the presidents or the new employees would like to say a few words? Any of the presidents or new employees like to say a few words?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and the board members. I have Northwestern State University has two items that were just approved, and we thank you so much. And I would like to introduce a couple of people to you. I'd first like to introduce our new Dean of Arts and Sciences at Northwestern. Dr. Francine Lemoyne's educational background includes a BS in biology from the University of Southwestern Louisiana, a PhD in cell and molecular biology from Baylor College of Medicine with a specialization in virology, and postdoctoral fellowships at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Duke University Medical Center. Dr. Lemoyne has been a faculty member at Northwestern State University since 2006. She served as director of the School of Biological and Physical Sciences from 2015 to 2019, during which she worked to establish a new degree program in applied microbiology and increased student enrollment by nearly 20%, creating one of the largest academic units at the university. With the skills honed during her participation in the ULS Management and Leadership Institute, Dr. Lemoyne has served as interim dean of the College of Arts and Sciences since July 2019. She is passionate about student and faculty engagement and has a true collaborative spirit. I'd like to introduce to you all and ask Dr. Lemoyne to give a welcome. Dr. Francine Lemoyne.
Thank you, Dr. Maggio, and thank you for all who are here today. I'm truly humbled and honored by the support and the trust that you all and my colleagues at Northwestern State have placed in me as I accept this appointment. I've been blessed in my life and in my career with some tremendous mentors, and I'm really excited at this point to be able to stand on their shoulders as I work to continue to drive the improvement of the College of Arts and Sciences at Northwestern State University. I look forward to helping develop some new and innovative curriculum, as well as develop our tremendously talented faculty, staff, and students in our programs. I thank you all for the support that you're providing to me today with this appointment. We have a lot of work to do, and I'm anxious to get started. Thank you.
Dr. Lemoyne, thank you so much, and we thank you for your leadership that you continue to provide for Northwestern State University, and we have some great things in store for us in the College of Arts and Sciences.
Thank you, Dr. Mack.
I'd now like to turn my attention to our College of Nursing and our School of Allied Health. Several months ago, our longtime dean of the past 7 years, Dr. Dana Clausen, has announced that she was ready to step down from the administrative role that she's worked so tirelessly over the past 7 years and return to a faculty position, and has worked with us during this transition over these past several months. Dr. Clausen is with us today, and I just want to publicly say thank you and acknowledge the tremendous work that Dr. Clausen has done over the past 7 years and as Dean of the College of Nursing and School of Allied Health for Northwestern State University, where we have grown enrollment in that college by more than 50%. She has received millions of dollars in grants, several faculty positions funded from external sources. She is a researcher, a scholar, an advocate, and just a wonderful colleague. So, Dr. Clausen, thank you so much, and we're so honored that you will remain at Northwestern as a faculty member in our doctoral program at our College of Nursing. Also, we just approved, and I'm very honored to have someone that will step in as an interim dean of College of Nursing and School of Allied Health at Northwestern. Dr. Joel Hicks serves as director of the School of Allied Health, a position he assumed in 2017. Prior to being named director, Dr. Hicks served as both honors coordinator of the School of Allied Health and clinical coordinator for radiologic science programs at Northwestern. Dr. Hicks was recently named as the Assistant Dean of the College of Nursing and School of Allied Health at NSU. Before joining Northwestern State University, Dr. Hicks worked for 16 years at various healthcare institutions in Northwest Louisiana. Dr. Hicks first earned a certificate in radiologic technology in 1994. To further his education, he pursued a Bachelor of Science in Radiologic Sciences from Northwestern, which he completed in 1994. In 2009, he earned a Master's of Science in Radiologic Science Administration from Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas. He then completed a Doctorate of Education from Grambling State University in 2016. His dissertation focus was on academic advising and online programs. Dr. Hicks is part of the current cohort of students attending the ULS Management and Leadership Institute. To the board members, I would like to welcome you and ask Dr. Joel Hicks to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maggio, and thank you, board. I'm truly humbled, honored for this appointment to be interim dean of the College of Nursing and School of Allied Health at Northwestern State University under the leadership of Drs. Clausen, Dr. Handel, Dr. Maggio. The College of Nursing School of Allied Health has reached unprecedented levels in all of our programs, all of the things that Dr. Maggio just mentioned. I'm looking forward to doing everything that I can to continue all of these previous successes and seeking new opportunities for enhancing our region and our state through the graduation of new healthcare leaders in all of our programs. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Dr. Hicks, thank you so much. And again, thank you for your leadership that you have provided in our School of Allied Health, and look forward to your role as interim dean and continuing the great things established by Dr. Clausen and the wonderful faculty and staff that you all have assembled in our College of Nursing. And with that, I thank you both. And I don't want to put him on the spot, but I know our wonderful president, Dr. Henderson, has served with these three individuals, and he may have a word or two he would like to add.
Well, Dr. Maggio, you're not putting me on the spot, but I have known these folks, and I commend you for your selections and those of the selection committees, because you could not have finer individuals to assume leadership positions, even as you lose one who is a giant in the business. And real quickly about Dr. Clausen, I have never worked with an academic professional who is more driven, more visionary, and at the same time more substantive, right? It's easy to craft visions. I'm a vision guy, right? Chris, you're driven in the way that you try to approach the business. Dana does all of those things, but she also dots every I and crosses every T and adds I's and T's whenever they're necessary. She recently just achieved or just went through accreditation visits for all the College of Nursing School of Allied Health. I believe there were 293 standards she had to conform with, and they were approved on all 293 standards, which is just Herculean in its nature. Two professionals that you're advancing, and Fran Lemoyne and Joel Hicks, are they are the epitome of what academic professionals should be. And Northwestern continues to advance under your leadership, Chris. I appreciate that very, very much. But with Dr. Handel, Fran Lemoyne, and Joel Hicks, you're well positioned for future growth and advancement. And I'm just so proud and grateful to the two of you for stepping up to these leadership positions during a difficult time. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to say that both Dr. Lemoyne and Dr. Hicks have very impressive backgrounds, and I look forward to you all helping to lead the wonderful institution to greater heights.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
So there's not any other presidents to have anything to say or new employees to introduce. Is there any other business that this committee has? Okay. In that there is not any other businesses, this concludes the Personnel Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Dr. Henderson, if you would, please present your items at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, you were emailed copies of the personnel actions for your review, and these have been reviewed by staff and they're recommended for approval. Mr. Chair, we need a motion and a second.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. If we could have a motion and a second for personnel items. Moved by Ms. Bailey, second by Dr. Carter. Carol, if you could please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos, Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe, Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Ms. Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
They're approved.
Thank you very much. Board members report on a couple of things. First, COVID-19, as our semester comes to an end, most of our students have returned home. Most have finished finals with a couple of exceptions. And just from reports that we've received and social media activity we have seen, two words come to mind when I think of the faculty and staff of our institutions and our students: as adaptability and resilience. What they have overcome this semester is a testament to, number one, the faculty and staff that we employ at our institutions, and number two, the students that we serve. I want to commend our faculty and staff who work so hard to ensure that our advancing knowledge and learning for students remain non-negotiable despite facing a global pandemic and the threat of multiple named storms. But I would like to ask, I'm sorry, Siri wants to tell me something. She was defining non-negotiable in a poor way. But for a student perspective, I could tell you a number of stories about students around our system that have been successful. But in lieu of that, I thought it would be better to hear from an exemplary model of those students. And I asked Supervisor Olivia Bailey if she would mind giving us just a brief perspective from the student. Olivia?
Hi, everyone. To start off, I just want to say that the UL system has done an exceptional job with efforts to maintain as much normalcy as possible, especially compared to other universities in our nation. Students at many universities appreciate the attempts that the UL system has made, such as in-person commencements, many hybrid courses that are offered, events even on campus with masks and social distancing. And they just really appreciate those because you don't see those at a lot of schools in the nation. And it really keeps things, it keeps the normalcy that they loved coming to school last fall and years before that. Unfortunately, some students have had challenges this semester regarding academics, such as we see a big lack in motivation due to isolation and not seeing peers in classes, which it's been a lot better at our UL system schools just because of the fact that we do have those hybrid classes where some teachers do require their students to log on to Zoom and turn on their cameras. And so you are seeing those students. But I think that's one of the biggest problems that we've had this semester is lack of motivation because you don't see your peers as much. So you're not seeing the struggles that everyone's having and you're not bonding over the fact that, you both have to write this paper in matters of 2 days. And then there's been some inconsistency among faculty teaching methods. Some professors have been very proficient in Zoom and online teaching and have done an exceptional job, even making their classes more engaging. And then others, you've seen a lack in organization and communication in some classes. And then lastly, which is a very positive thing and an unfortunate thing, is that many students value the fact that the UL system schools are known for their hands-on and real industry experience in courses. This has made the transition of online classes rather difficult for the UL system students. I'm sure a majority of you have seen some of the pushing for a pass-fail semester. And I think this is where a lot of that comes from because all of us are really used to doing that real industry work and the hands-on experience, where at other schools, students are used to more of a textbook approach when it comes to classes. And so this made the learning transition not as drastic for them. But all in all, I think that, the UL system's done an exceptional job with keeping as much normalcy as possible. And I'd be happy to elaborate on any of those facts. Thank you.
Livia, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. And just for the record, folks, I texted Olivia about 15 minutes ago. I said, hey, look, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. And I said, I'm gonna tag you in the president's report. And so that was completely impromptu on her part. And just, again, it just is symbolic of what an extraordinary student leader we have on our board. But she's right. We have a number of successes associated with COVID-19 this semester and a number of challenges. I believe firmly that we've made the best decisions possible with the facts we had at hand at the time. And those facts, we continue to gain knowledge about this virus, knowledge about how to control its spread, knowledge about how to test, how to respond, and we'll continue to make good decisions. We met with the presidents this morning to reflect on the fall, to evaluate and identify any adjustments necessary. And we're confident in our practices going forward. The spring will look very similar to the fall. We'll have a lot of challenges, but I think we'll be better able to address those challenges because, number one, formal evaluation, analysis, and problem solving, but also a great deal of informal analysis and problem solving that you see going on in this network world we live in. I see faculty from across the state having conversations with each other across institutions, and of course sometimes that's expressing frustrations, but quite often it's talking about lessons learned and best practices. And I just could not be more grateful to our university leadership, the leadership of the system staff, and Dr. Khan and Erica Calais, they've been working directly with their counterparts in academics and student services, and certainly the faculty that have just reaffirmed their dedication to our mission. And as much as we never want to go through a circumstance like this, that's what I'm going to carry away from this, is that deep appreciation for their work. Talk to you real quickly about content experts. This is an initiative born out of the genius of Claire Norris and others. It's part of our efforts with Bridging the Divide Task Force. Our system recognized an opportunity to tap into the breadth of talent among our member institutions to share expertise system-wide. And to talk about this content expert initiative, I'm going to ask Dr. Norris to say a few words. Claire?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Henderson. As you all know, the University of Louisiana system and its 9 member institutions developed an ambitious strategic framework that's committed to producing Louisiana's most educated generation by the year of 2025. We recognize that this goal cannot be achieved without removing barriers to achievement, establishing evidence-based practices to promote student success. Because we already have an enormous amount of intellectual capital that exists in our system, we tapped into that network to identify 5 subject matter experts who will provide high-level holistic support across the system in 5 key areas. That's mental health, financial aid, information technology, grants and research, and online teaching and learning. I'm excited to introduce this year's cohort of subject matter experts. And I believe that we have a PowerPoint so you can at least see their faces. Thanks, Jesse. Our first expert is Dr. Terry Diltz. She's a professor and a co-coordinator of graduate nursing at McNeese State University. She also serves as the director of the Psychiatric Advanced Practice Nursing Track within the Intercollegiate Consortium, which is a consortium of 4 universities in Southern Louisiana. She's been employed almost exclusively in the psychiatric mental health field since 1975 in various capacities. Dr. Diltz has been an invited speaker on state, national, and international stages on a variety of mental health topics. Her experience in mental health has included education, private practice, and a number of staff positions on inpatient psychiatric units. Our next content expert is Tracy Brown. Tracy presently serves as the Chief Technology Officer for Northwestern State University. Prior to his current appointment at Northwestern, Tracy served in various capacities at Northwestern, including Deputy Chief Information Officer and Associate Director of Technical Services. Tracy's experiences span 29 years and is exclusive to the educational field. In Tracy's role as CTO, his work does not only involve the supervision of technology resources, but it also includes evaluating technology and developing partnerships with key stakeholders, both within and external to the university. Under his leadership, other vital areas, including project development, organizational workflow, and student satisfaction and success. Our next content expert is Dr. Gavin Hams. He has nearly 10 years of extensive experience in financial aid at Grambling State University. As a default prevention specialist, he was able to establish innovative, data-driven practices that led to an immediate reduction of the institution's cohort default rate. He has also been able to spearhead a robust financial literacy program on campus to help students make sound financial choices. Dr. Hames, an astute leader in the field, is actively involved in assessing financial aid practices. He has received tongue twister here. The Pro Voice Choice, Student Choice, and Campus Customer Service Awards because of his commitment to work. Our next content expert is Carla Howell. She serves as the Director of the Office of Sponsored Programs at Northwestern University. Carla is responsible for the overall management of pre-award grant and contract administration. She is tasked with increasing and sustaining successful grant and contract activity by working with faculty and staff in researching and identifying prospective resource opportunities at the federal, state, local, and private funding levels. Since joining the Office of Sponsored Programs in 2002, she's been involved with the submission of over 1,200 proposals, exceeding a request of $209 million and the acceptance of over 927 awards, bringing in $128 million to the university. And last but not least, Beth Blankenship is currently the director of UNO's Center for Teaching and Innovation, CTI. Ms. Blankenship has more than 15 years in online teaching experience, with training in theory and practice of online instruction, instructional design, universal design for learning, and course evaluation standards. As the director of the CTI, she works with faculty to develop, implement, evaluate, and revise online and hybrid courses for undergraduate and graduate degree programs and the general education curriculum. She's partnered with Lewis, UNO's Earl K. Long Library, and New Orleans Educational Telecommunications Consortium to host OER workshops for faculty across the region. As you can see, this is a very talented group that will be creating a holistic education framework to ensure the success of our students and to reach our goals set forth in our strategic framework. Again, we're excited about this group of content experts.
Claire, thank you so much for your leadership of this effort. It's going to, folks, this is an example of building that concept of system and leveraging our collective resources to maximize the outcomes that we achieve, and I appreciate you very much. Talking about commencements, as you know, it's commencement season, and the culmination of years of dedicated work will be celebrated for our students. We hope you'll be able to participate in some of the celebrations, even though the commencements will look a little different than they have in the years past. Fortunately, most of our member institutions have identified safe environments to hold ceremonies. You won't see a lot of smiling faces because they'll all be hidden by masks. But you'll get to see the sense of pride that shows in the eyes of these graduates and, of course, the faculty that have helped them reach these milestones. But I would like to acknowledge a few of our special grads. First is Tequila Babbitt. Ms. Babbitt is graduating with a degree in general studies from University of Louisiana at Lafayette as part of their university college. About 11 years ago, Ms. Babbitt went to the registrar's office at UL Lafayette to withdraw because she was pregnant. And she posted pictures on social media of the next time she was on campus with her daughter. And that was this fall to order her commencement regalia. So she'll graduate next week. She returned to UL Lafayette in January of this last year through the Compete Louisiana program. And though I've never met her, she's already one of my favorite graduates, and I can't wait to see her soon. You'll all see her soon in video form, I believe. So Cami, thank you for that. Another special graduate this fall is one that seems like yesterday was sitting in the formal living room at the president's residence at Northwestern State when I resided there. And I did my best to influence her to come to Northwestern. I worked through her father to come to Northwestern. And I'm talking about a young lady named Madison Romero, the daughter of our board chair, Mark Romero. She's graduating in a couple of weeks from Northwestern State University's Louisiana Scholars College, the state's designated honors college. And I know he couldn't be prouder of her. Her brother Ben could not be prouder of her. Her mother Cindy could not be prouder of her. And second only to them, please know that I'm proud of her as well. And if you would indulge me, two more special graduates. My son Nick Henderson will graduate next week. He's the outstanding graduate for the Ray Alderman College of Sciences at UL Lafayette. He's getting degrees in physics, math, and chemistry in his 7 semesters. He couldn't hang with the rigor of a journalism degree like his old man. He happens to be graduating with his longtime girlfriend, Allie Faust, who was the valedictorian of Loyola College Prep High School in Shreveport. She's graduated with a 4.0 in completing degrees in chemistry and biology in 7 semesters as well. Both have been accepted to Louisiana Health Science Center in Shreveport for medical school starting next fall. And I have to say this about their experience at UL Lafayette.
I didn't get that. Can you try again?
I said I have to say this about their experience at Lafayette. The faculty that embraced them and gave them extraordinary academic experiences in research and in technology. These two are students that could have literally gone anywhere in the country to go to school, free, but they chose UL Lafayette. And their experience, the transformation that I've seen in them affirms that decision. If I could talk about Nick real quickly, he studied under Nobel caliber researcher Harry Whitlow in the Louisiana Accelerator Center. And for 3.5 years, he has worked with a National Electrostatics Corporation 5 SDH2 1.7 megavolt tandem Pelletron accelerator with dual plasmatron, radio frequency, and cesium sputtering negative ion sources. That's a pretty complex piece of machinery. It's a particle accelerator. I asked him when he had to study from home if he could bring that with him. And he said, you know, Dad, if we hit any copper, it might destroy the neighborhood. He's working on equipment that, again, with a Nobel caliber researcher, he could not have gotten this experience, I dare say, at just about any other university in the country. We could tell those stories about our students quite often, but when they're in your own household and you get to live those experiences with them, it's a completely different perspective. And I want to thank President Savoy. I want to thank Vice President Ramesh Kalaru for continuing to open these world-class educational experiences for students. And board members, we can be proud of these institutions. And I'm speaking about UL Lafayette because that's the institution that these students attended. But we can say the same for students at all of these universities. And I'm just humbled to be able to work with them. This is just a small sample of hundreds of students who will walk away from their university career this month better prepared for life and for career success than they were when they began. It's an honor to be a part of this work, and we appreciate your service as board members. You selflessly give your time and talents to better organization. Now, it is that time that's bittersweet because while we're still meeting virtually, we had hoped to celebrate the end of Mark Romero and his accomplishments as our board chair in person, and we can't do that. These past 2 years have not been without challenge, and I want to commend Mark, his efforts and leadership throughout the hardships this year, through extraordinary challenges that have faced all of education and the economy. I could not have asked for a better confidant, a better friend, a better leader, a better mentor. Once we're able to be together again, we'll properly celebrate his tenure as board chair. But I could not pass the baton for his last board chair's report without thanking him for his tremendous service. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll have some other ways we'll recognize this over the coming weeks, but On behalf of your extraordinary leadership as chair of the Board of Supervisors for the last 2 years, the University of Louisiana system, please accept this as a symbol of our gratitude.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Thank you so much, sir.
And soon I will be able to say some great words about our incoming chair, but that business has not been taken care of yet, so we'll have to wait on that. But Chair Romero, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. And look, I would join you in congratulating our many students. And I think on behalf of our entire board, I want to extend the most deep congratulations to you and all of the things you all did to foster the development of Nick and to see him through his college years. And certainly I'm proud that he's going to be an alum from my alma mater. And I know that he's going to bring some distinguished accolades to our school, and really proud to see that he was successful and gained a great experience, and that he'll go on further to take that educational foundation that he got at one of our campuses to maybe bring some honor to another school. But I think there's much to be proud of. And again, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your comments and your camaraderie, the leadership you brought while serving as assistant president during my time on this board. It was a great honor to have the opportunity to be part of the search committee and certainly to appoint you as our president. And I can't think of a circumstance where, serving as chair couldn't have been as fulfilling or certainly as accomplished as having the opportunity to work at the helm with you to kind of drive some of the results that we've been able to accomplish. I look at that work as being in a position where it needs to continue. I'm very comfortable that our board is going to appoint a great leader who's going to see it through. And my advice is the ship is full of fuel, go drive it hard. And I believe very, very much that we're going to see some great success as we continue and look forward to being a part of our board on an ongoing basis. As we mentioned last time, our in-person ethics training is a couple of housekeeping items that I'll get to. I think are more significant items, but in-person ethics training wasn't possible this year. Just remember that annually ethics and sexual harassment training is due by each of us by December 31st. It's actually state law, and we have an obligation as a system to self-report any incompletes, and certainly would encourage us to go ahead and report a blank sheet of paper before this year's up, and know that Bruce Janae will be working to provide, any access you may need or any support you may need to complete that duty that we all have as part of our duties as a board member. At our October meeting, I appointed a nominating committee. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Salter to give us a report from that committee. Mr. Salter. You might want to unmute Mr. Salter. We just want to see you lip sync.
I'm gonna have to start over, and I've forgotten what I said now. No, you got the minutes, I know, of the work that we did on the nominating committee. I was very fortunate in that the chairman appointed 2 stellar individual board members to assist with this nominating work. We had the newly re-elected District Attorney Russell and the infamous on this. We of course have support from Carol and Dr. Henderson as well. What I would like to do, Mr. Chairman, was, if it's okay, I'll start with the vice chairman. We have an individual that we'd like to nominate for vice chairman. That's Elizabeth Pierre. I would place her in nomination for vice chair. Is there a second?
Second by Mr. Carter.
All right, we do have a second. Other nominations from the floor?
Motion to close nomination.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Perkins to close nominations and by acclamation elect Elizabeth Pierre as vice chairman. We need a roll call, Carol, is that correct?
Yes. Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Dr. Clark?
Yes.
Dr. Condos? Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe?
Yes.
Dr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen?
Yes.
Ms. Methvin? Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
The motion is approved, so we congratulate Elizabeth Pierre as our incoming vice chair. And now on to the chair. I would place in nomination James Carter as chair for the coming year. Do I have a second?
Yes, Mr. Salter, Speaker, I would like to second that Mr. Carter be nominated and named as the new chair for the upcoming year for the University of Louisiana system.
All right, do we have other nominations from the floor, from the board, other nominations?
I'll move to close nominations for chair.
All right, we have a motion to close nominations for chair and by acclamation to elect James Carter as chair for the coming year. Kara, roll call, please.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos, Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Ms. Methvin, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Joe Salter.
Yes. And the, Carol?
It's approved.
All right, it's approved. Congratulate Carter as the incoming chair of the board. I would remind you that the chair has a prerogative to a parliamentarian, and I'm sure that Mr. Carter will take care of that at the appropriate time. Mr. Chairman, that completes.
Thank you, Speaker Salter, and my most sincere congratulations to James Carter and Liz Pierre. I know that you will do a great job of bringing our board forward and will continue to propel success through our system. And I would certainly ask if you all would like to say some words at this time.
I would defer
to Liz Pierre.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank the board for its confidence in electing me to the position of vice chair. I've learned so much during my tenure on this board, and of course it's due in no small part to our previous chairman, Dr. Perkins, and Mr. Romero, the previous chairman during my tenure. And I look forward to working with Mr. Carter to keep this board moving in the positive direction that it has. So again, thank you all.
I also want to thank the board for entrusting me with this position. It's been such a beautiful continuation of leadership from Al through Mark and your great stewardship. Thank you so much. I appreciate the relationships we've built. I want to thank the entire board for your wonderful leadership in what you're doing. It's incredible, it's outstanding. Very talented group, as well as the leaders of the system of the various schools. And of course, our guy over here, Dr. Henderson, man, just a wonderful, wonderful leader. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge, and I have a huge imagination. So I'm just looking forward to this stewardship and to help to move the system to higher and higher heights. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again, James and Liz. And I can't think of a better position for our system to be in as to proceed under you all's leadership. Look forward to supporting both of you, James.
And if it's the appropriate time, I will suggest to
yes, sir.
Dr. Clark, Dr. Jimmy Clark, I'm selecting to be the parliamentarian.
Congratulations, Dr. Clark.
Well,
Thank you very much, Chairman Carter. And just let me thank you, former chairman. Is it, what is your title now, Mark, officially? Whatever it is, I want to thank you personally for taking me under your wing these last 2 years. You've really provided me with an extraordinary opportunity to learn, and certainly look forward to supporting Supervisors Pierre and Carter and in their leadership in however I can.
Congratulations again to all of you.
Thank you.
Chairman Romero.
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
I believe I heard Dr. Henderson say earlier.
We might have lost you.
I really want to know what I said.
We'll pause for a second for Mr. Perkins to rejoin us.
He's still on, so he may have a bad connection.
Yeah, because his video fell off.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, while we wait on Mr. Perkins, it was 4 years ago at the December meeting that this board approved me to come in as system president. It was after that meeting that then Chair Perkins, when he was approved as chair of Vice Chair Romero and parliamentarian James Carter and I came up to now the Win Seville conference room and talked about what a true system of higher education could look like. And I just want to thank the three of you. And 2 years later, when Liz Pierre was at as parliamentarian, and the four of you in helping lead the growth and the development of what I consider one of the finest examples of generative board leadership in a system of higher education in the country. And so I want to thank you for your service. I want to congratulate and welcome Dr. Carter in this new role. Look forward to working with you and Ms. Pierre, and certainly to Dr. Clark, who has done as much work as anybody in the country in advancing best practice in higher education in the state, but across the entire nation. And appreciate your willingness to step up, folks, in voluntary roles and dedicate untold numbers of hours to leading this important work. And I look forward to working with all three of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, his iPad ran out of juice.
It's the worst.
I certainly would like to again express my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you for the support, the trust, I think in your service as well, and doing the things that we've done over the past 2 years. It's been an honor to serve as your chairman, and I certainly would tell you that it's something that will be with me for the rest of my life. I believe that we have done some extraordinary things and will continue to do that. And I believe, as Dr. Carter mentioned, his imagination will bring a propelling effect to our direction. And I certainly would see and look forward to seeing some really good things as we go forward. I know that, we've built some friendships. We've worked collaboratively. We've certainly tested boundaries. We found ways to get our leadership on the right path. And I think in the last 4 years, serving as a board officer, I've had the opportunity to participate in and witness the most extraordinary movement that has occurred over my 8 years on this board. It's been very, very fulfilling. I think the work that we've done over the past few years has truly impacted our system, education in this state, our students, our faculty, our staff. And I can't thank each and every one of you enough for the devout commitment you all have made and the service you bring. I know that this progress again will continue. I know that there is certainly merit to the structure of our bylaws in limiting a chair to 2 consecutive years. And I believe that refreshed position Dr. Carter is going to bring to the role of chairman, and all of us will have an opportunity to participate in supporting his ideas and initiatives. I'm comfortable that we'll see really good things occur over the next 2 years. I think that some of you have terms that are up end of this month. It's been a great pleasure serving with all of you. I know potentially look forward to seeing you return, but I want to thank Sean Murphy, Ed Crawford, Pam Egan, and certainly James, who will be returning as chairman for those contributions that you've made and the commitment and friendship that we've been able to foster over the time that we've worked together. So thank all of you again for the honor and opportunity to serve as your chair. As we proceed, annually we evaluate the presidents of our member institutions. Due to the nature of the discussion, the evaluation of presidents requires us to go into executive session. Because we are virtual, we will not physically be moving, but Ann McKisson will actually move us through that Skype room that we're going to convene in and certainly have our virtual executive session. The Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana system may meet in executive session to discuss personnel matters under the provisions of Louisiana Revised Statutes 4217. While in executive session, the board may not make any motions or take any votes. Do I have a motion and second to go in executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Carter, second by Ms. Pierre. Carol, if you can call the roll.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Dr. Clark?
Yes.
Dr. Condos?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Donahoe?
Yes.
Dr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen?
Yes.
Ms. Methvin? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Perkins? Ms. Pierre?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Romero?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Salter?
Yeah.
The item's approved.
Thank you, Carol. The board will now adjourn to executive session.
This is Ann. I just wanted to make sure there's no board members waiting in this room still.
Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana system met in executive session to discuss personnel matters. While in executive session, no motions were made nor votes taken. Is there a motion to reconvene in open session? Moved by Dr. Carter, second by Ms. Egan. Dr. Egan. Carol, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter, Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos,
Here.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen,
Yes.
Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you, Carol. Are there any other comments from the board at this time?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes, thank you very much. At this time, I would like to move that we accept the performance evaluations of the 9 university presidents and authorize the system president to execute the related contractual amendments.
I have a motion by Mr. Carter,
Second.
second by Ms. Pierre. Carol, if you could call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Condos,
Yes.
Mr. Crawford,
Yes.
Ms. Donahoe,
Yes.
Dr. Egan,
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen, Mr. Perkins,
Yes.
Ms. Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Romero,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Salter.
Yes.
It's approved.
Thank you, Carol. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 7th. Basically, it'll involve installation of our new officers and potentially newly appointed board members. After today's meeting, Carol will be emailing scheduled meetings for next year. I would ask that you be on the lookout for that and just be mindful of adding that to your calendars for the new schedule. We've had a full, exciting, and challenging year. I want to wish all of you the happiest of holidays as we celebrate Christmas and into the new year as this year closes, and wish you the best for you and your families. Is there any further business to come before the board at this time? Having none, if I could have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Carter. We stand adjourned.
I'm not sure I understand.